What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Bois, your one-stop shop review for all your energy drink reviews and your performance talks, and sometimes your just general hilarity for charity. I'm Brian,
I'm Christian.
and we are the Bev Boys after that long pause. Christian,
Sorry, might be a little bit
what
of
do you?
lag time here.
This guy's on the north side of the island. He's taking vacations. If you guys don't, if you're a strength coach or a performance coach and you want to just live a great life, I'm not gonna say work in baseball because sometimes baseball's not always the best schedule, but I mean you want to talk about like go to the academies in the professional league if you're like, hey, I'm qualified, I know that this is what I want to do, and you're passionate about the sport and passionate about training. This guy's, I mean, he lives a great life, works with great people, has a great situation, and he's just casually going to a waterfall today. How many
That
coaches
I
can
am.
say that?
Probably not a lot. Definitely very lucky. And who knows? These jobs open up down here more often than you would think. So if you're
It's
interested,
crazy.
be on the lookout. If you're, open to working for, all 30 teams, we got them down here. So
I gotta say this. This kind of spawned me off, and I'm gonna rant a little bit probably before we get into our drinks. But I was talking to a guy who was previous on the show, I think twice, and then just stopped showing up because that's his fashion. But I was talking with Jake for Jake's takes. We did have a hot take that I should bring up because this was actually a really good one. Again, the guy is just a no show for work ever when it comes to Bev Boys. Every state should have one professional sports team. Every state. And this is my it doesn't have to be baseball. It doesn't have to be an NFL team. We don't need 50 NFL teams. We don't need 50 baseball teams. Would be kind of cool. We don't need 50 NBA teams. We don't need 50 NHL teams or professional soccer teams or in the MLS or even the WLS. What we need though is every state to have a professional team. Every state should have someone that the whole state can get behind and gather around and have that pride in their state. Plus, it probably helps fund local economies. That's my argument.
I'm all in on that, as especially with someone that is from a state that doesn't have a pro sports team. Like we're right there. We have AAA for baseball. We have the G League for basketball. We have, I don't know what the developmental league for hockey is called, but we have that too.
Mm-hmm.
And I know we have an arena football league. We have
The
like
arena football league's pretty sick.
yeah, like all the one step down shit. Like Iowa has that. And there's a lot of
We
others. We need, I don't know if that means like another sports league. Like, do we start doing, because there's other states that don't even have like that. Like take a
give me
trip out
like
to Wyoming. They don't have shit.
yeah,
Like,
give me like a Rhode Island clam jumpers as a baseball team. That'd be sick.
yeah, I don't know if that means like creating another league or just another like professional sport league in general. Like, okay, I'm sure there's like a pro rodeo circuit, but like it's obviously
Yeah.
not as popular as NFL football. Um,
What about like
I don't know what that would be.
I know there's a professional lacrosse league and I have ignorance on it, but like like good lacrosse when they take the best of the best, it's pretty fun to watch. Do like kind of get them a TV deal, go into it. Like it's a mix of soccer and football. Bring American rugby into this, go hard in some like American rugby. You got all those boys out in Wyoming that are just nuts. They're cowboys, dude. They kill somebody if you put them on a rugby field. They don't care about pads. They just want to rough and tough.
Yeah, I think rugby would be sick. Good lacrosse is also sick. Um, Trying to think what other sports.
A professional BMX league. That'd be sick.
BMX Get a little like dirt bike racing, little go kart racing circuit.
Dude, that's what I'm talking about. Let's go weird with it.
Or what was that? I can't remember what channel it used to be on. It was Slam Ball. You know what I'm talking about? Where they jumped on, it was basketball, but
Yes.
on like a trampoline park.
Trampoline.
That
And they can
that
hit
was
each other?
electric. Dude, that was
Yeah, dude.
electric. Slam Ball. Oh my gosh.
Yes. Just don't give me like a professional pickleball league. I'm so out on that sport. That thing sucks. I don't care what anyone says.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
trash.
just play
I
tennis or
play
table
tennis.
tennis.
Yeah,
Don't
get a
try to mix
professional
them
ping pong.
into a
These guys are athletes too. They can
ping
swing
pong.
hard.
Badminton? Badminton?
I think I'd be a professional volleyball league. Like good volleyball's fun to watch. Men or women,
Yep.
just go hard.
Men's or women's.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to see like a 35 mile an hour just fa.
There's not really a big market for like pro softball either, I don't think.
There isn't. But like you think about like a team, I guess, shout out Joe Padula, Oklahoma softball. You think about them, they just crush it. Think about like a women's professional team. And then I want to see like a little crossover. I want to see Oklahoma play one of those professional teams on just a, scrimmage. Let me do a little scrimmage.
Yeah, because like I feel like softball is just as exciting as baseball because the field is smaller, so things happen at like a quicker pace. There's more home runs.
There's a there's a higher kind of like
There's
pace
more
of
like
play.
yes, the pace of play is different.
That would be sick. I'm all in on it. Let's start creating some leagues.
Yep, just need a
But
small loan of about what $100 million or something like that to get started.
a small loan, if anyone just has that laying around, they want us to front up a league, like let's do it.
Yep, that's the next Bois project. We're gonna pivot from energy drinks to being franchise pro sport owners.
Yeah. We just need
Commissioner.
someone to, yeah, Commissioner French and his assistant to the regional commissioner, Brian.
Yep, we'll have a whole new. Yeah. Why don't we just have a professional eating league?
Dude, Joey Chestnut, get him in there. Get the guy from Meat
Yeah,
vs.
like
Food.
there needs to be a circuit. There needs to be like a circuit to that. Like I know there's like different competitions, but like there needs to be like a cup. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, like you got to
Like
win
in
like
soccer, like
or like in horse racing. What is the
the Triple Crown.
yeah, Triple Crown.
The Triple
Like, let's do
Crown.
that.
It's gonna be like
You got
hot dog,
dogs, Twinkies.
whoever can drink the most milk, and then I don't know what the third one is.
Oh.
Whoever can drink the most whole milk. And then the
like a
third
Twinkie.
one would be I don't even know.
I think you gotta rotate. You gotta rotate between like desserts, but like the fun ones, like Twinkies.
Yes.
Whoever can eat the most Oreos. If it's whoever can eat the most Oreos, you're just gonna have like when like you eat Oreos and their whole mouth gets like that like really dark like cocoa like black kind of color.
Yeah. I'm thinking that or
Yes.
like ice cream.
Dude, you just see ice cream headaches all over.
Yes, exactly.
I want to see a pizza one would be sick, because these dudes would be mowing that down.
Dude, they just be rolling the whole pizza up into like a big burrito.
I'm cool with that. Let's do one on burritos. I mean, people's stomachs are gonna be writing checks that their asses can't cash, but
Just housing burritos.
it's
Or
gonna look like that
if you've
scene
ever
from Dumb and Dumber.
if you've ever seen that movie, what's it called? Is it The Great Outdoors or is it Uncle Buck where he eats that massive steak? Like
think
as a
that's the
challenge.
I think that's the Great Outdoors, because Uncle Buck's the giant pancake where he uses the shovel.
Yes, where he uses the shovel. Yeah, no, The Great Outdoors where like he eats that like massive steak and he's like, he's done. There's nothing left in that plate but grizzle and fat. And then he like chef's like, that's not all of it. Or like, there's more.
Dude, I'm all in. We should do a professional eating league. Get a professional energy drink one. Just load up these guys with, 40,000 milligrams of caffeine, let their heart stop. Whoever wants it gets eternal glory, but that's it. That's all you'll be remembered for.
Yeah, that gets a little. I mean, that gets very dangerous really quick.
Speaking of energy drinks, what are you drinking today?
Yeah, so nothing special, but old reliable here. It was either this or sugar-free Red Bull, but I had to go with Old Faithful here. Just good old white monster, you know.
Oh, I thought you were about to correct it. I was like waiting for it. I was preparing.
I am gonna. Okay,
Pop that top. Just nothing beats the pop on a white monster. It's 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 the same thing as the drink. It's so consistent. It's so consistent. I'm going the
yeah, it's one of
Debunked
those
side.
drinks. It's one of
Go
those
ahead.
drinks you just never get tired of.
No, it always hits. It's always there. We've said this 1,000 times. It's like the old high school girlfriend. You know, you guys break up. You go off to college. You want to try the new stuff. You want to go everywhere to see everything that you haven't seen before. Maybe you grab a rain. Maybe you get a ghost energy. And then you come home for Thanksgiving break that first year, and she's just waiting there for you. You see her. You're hanging out with your buddies. She's just waiting there, just beautiful as ever. You're like, what was I doing? I'm coming back home.
I'm
She
going
just
back home.
welcomes you with open arms. I'm going completely. Normally, I'm the one who's always got a new drink. But what I'm doing is my daily driver at 5 in the morning every day. Got my nice little Ghost mug. Shout out Ghost. On brand. But inside this mug, I have Wandering Bear Cold Brew. Black cold brew. But there's a twist on this one. It is a s'mores flavored cold brew, and I must say, it's delicious. Cool part about this is that it's an actual tap. So Wandering Bear, you can get a subscription. This is not an ad. It can be if they want it to be. They have no idea who I am. They just know I'm the guy that ends up sometimes getting 2 boxes. It is a subscription. They send you a cold brew concentrate, throw some ice in. You're supposed to put water in it, which I found that out a couple months ago. I just I just take the straight gasoline. I mean, this is 98 pure. This is racing fuel, but I like it that way, and I just leave it in the fridge, walk up, hit the little tap, pour it out. I'm good to go. Every month there's a new box. So if anybody wants some pretty good cold brew, they also do other cool flavors. They got a sick peppermint mocha that happens in like December. Irish cream. There's a raspberry mocha that was pretty good. But honestly, just the plain black is still a decent cold brew. Still gets you going. But yeah, that's what I'm rocking today.
How long does a box last you, Brian?
It should last 30 days.
It doesn't.
I'm gonna leave it at that.
Okay, yeah, we don't need to go any further into that. You get 2 boxes and they don't last 30 days. I remember when you brought one of those into Elon, and I was like, damn, you just got a whole ass dispenser of cold brew here.
Oh yeah, that was one of the times that they like messed up and double sent me one. So I was like, oh, I'm just gonna take one to work, and that way if I forget my coffee, I have it here.
And you were like, yeah, guys, you can have some, but I feel like you just ended up drinking all of it. Like,
I mean, yeah, there was like the day that was like it was on the end of the box, and I just was like, if anyone can remember that, it was just me in front of that fridge. Now we have a different fridge that we can just put our drinks in, but it was just me in front of that fridge holding the box above my head, squeezing the tap. Uh,
yeah,
should we
that
get
sounds about
serious on
right.
these guys? Should we get serious
Yeah,
on these
let's
guys?
let's 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 get serious. I got a good topic that is kind of multi-layered. I feel like it's going to be a little fun, but we can actually get a little bit of education out of it for those of you that aren't hip. So, tons of different training methods out there, and I wanted to kind of focus in on some of the more what people would call like gimmicky type of methods, you know, the ones you see on social media. Some of them have been around for a long time and we thought they were good and now we're like, oh, that's kind of trash. Like Let's talk about those.
This
So
is
this is just going to be
crazy.
kind of
This is crazy because we talked right before we got on and said, hey, like, I got some cool topics. Mine falls right in line with yours. Now, for anyone listening, we did not
that's
discuss
perfect.
the details of these topics. We were going to surprise each other, but mine falls right in line with yours. That's so nuts. Go ahead.
Okay, yeah. So this is just going to be, you know, are these like valid or are these just trash? And why or why not? So, you know, took a walk on the beach this morning. There's a lot, you see a lot on social media, and this is usually like training, and it's usually like for like football or sports like that, running on sand and running like in water. I have a pretty good idea of what you're going to say about this, and I think we're pretty much aligned on this topic.
Yeah.
But other people may not know. You know, I think first when you think of it, it's like okay, it's harder to run on sand. That way, if I run on sand, then it'll be that much easier when I get on dry land, and I'll be faster,
Mm-hmm.
and it's going to strengthen my ankle complex and all that good stuff. What are we thinking? Cash or trash?
I don't, in the right context, cash for water. In all context, trash for sand. In the water sense, if you're in a rehab, you have to offload the body, maybe you have a lower limb injury, like an underwater treadmill. It's very expensive, so it's a small use case. I think it can be great while you're rehabbing. I think people who just get in the water and just start doing high knees just for the sake of it being hard, I'm just that I'm out on. I won't lie. Where the underwater treadmills, it might be trash on both, just because the underwater treadmill in that kind of a scenario is such a one-off where like only very expensive pro teams and then large universities can be able to do it. That it's not really applicable, and there's other ways you can do it. But the sand, I cannot stand. I hate that. Maybe it's just from working primarily with two sports that, ground reaction forces are a big player in track and field. And then even when you get into football, and you see it more so in football, that they'll go over and they'll just do sand workouts over and over again. I hate it. And this is what people just don't understand. And, it's not necessarily, this is a little bit more their ignorance than it is just they're idiots. It's just, you go play on a turf field or even a grass field, when you hit the ground and strike it hard, you kind of get a little bounce back off of it because the ground's stiffer. So therefore, you have to work ligament and tendon tissue versus just muscular tissue. When you go on sand and it's a very unstable surface and it's not necessarily a reactive surface, it becomes a very, very muscular action. So by doing it a lot, you're training the hell out of the muscular tissue. You're not training much, if at any, of the tendons, like the Achilles. You're not getting the ligament structure that you want, and the response that you want on the ligaments within the foot. Walking on the sand can be whatever, etc. But it's so overused for the sake of making it look hard, and that's what I hate. Um, and in all reality, it's always done by some one-off trainer that's not really a strength coach. It's this private trainer who wants to get a lot of views, so they work with, a, a great NFL pro, right? Because someone works with someone doesn't make them good. It just makes them decent at marketing. Um, and it's not what everybody thinks it is. It's not a good idea, in my opinion. It's not a structured training protocol. It's just a lot of, and usually it's a lot of gimmicky stuff. Hey, I'm going to have you do 15 cuts and, figure eight around this little cone. And then we're going to do some ladders in the sand. Ladders are one thing that are just so gimmicky. Yeah, I don't know if those are coming up, but I hate those. But you're just mixing two bad things to make it even worse. Because at the very least, even if you're doing a ladder drill, you might, depending on what drill you do in the ladder, you might get a little bit of like that kind of like extensive contact where you can start to build some robustness in the lower limb. You just completely nullify that when you go to the sand because you're not getting any stiffness. Um, it's so trash. There's a laundry list of things I could say about it that I just hate. Plus, sand sucks, man. It gets in your butt crack. We just talked about this off air. Like,
We did.
sand sucks. I'm like Anakin Skywalker. Like I don't know if it's a sensory thing, and I'm discovering something a little bit about myself, but God, who likes that shit?
Yeah, we were just talking about that. Like, I do. There's some beautiful beaches down here, but I'm more of a mountain guy because I can just only one. I can only sit on the beach for so long before I'm like, all right, I have to fucking be productive, and not just a useless piece of shit. I do
Yeah,
like swimming in the ocean.
mhm.
I like
That's
swimming in the
great.
ocean. But yeah, the sand gets fucking everywhere in your car, in your ass, in your shoes, all that stuff.
And
But
no matter
yeah,
how many times you wash your feet, it's still there. And those stupid little
yeah, I
hoses they
don't
have
I
at
don't
beaches,
understand.
those don't do anything.
Worthless.
Sucks. I'm out. Trash.
Yeah, I think for all the reasons that you said, I see some people doing, and like we've all done this before. We're excited to get in the water, so we like sprint. And I think I see some people like sprinting into the water as it gets like. I can kind of understand like because you're like okay, it's like more of like a you could call it like a type of resisted running,
Yeah.
except for it's usually if you're going to do that, you start off, a lot of times you can start off resisted and then pull the resistance. Like if you're doing we would do like belt sprints where we would have the resistance, then let go one side of the belt. Yep. But it's like the opposite when you're running into the water. Like it's getting more resisted as you go. And usually with resisted sprinting, ideally you're having the resistance around the torso, like right around the waist, right around where your
Yeah.
center of mass is. And it's resisting like from the bottom up. So it's more just like
Yeah.
working your I don't know, your hip
You're
flexors
not
and shit. Like you're not really like resisting it in a way that's going to help make you faster.
you're
It's
not
just going to
resisting the
fuck up your
momentum.
mechanics and
Yeah.
yeah.
You're not resisting any momentum. You're just trudging, literally, like you're just trudging through snow. It's not. That's why, you know, what is it? The biathlon people like use skis, so they can still move fast. They're not like if anyone said like, "Hey, I'm gonna run the fastest 40-yard dash that I'm ever gonna run," what I need to do is I need to go into Colorado during snow season, and I just need to march up the hill for hours on end. I want you to think about how productive that sounds. Every time you just throw someone into a pool to do something hard, that's what that is. Just do the
Yeah.
shit that sucks. Go push a sled for an hour and figure out something about yourself.
Yeah, you'd definitely get more out of that.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're clear on trash for running in the sand or the water outside of a
Mm-hmm.
one-off case in an underwater treadmill, which is obviously different.
Oh no. He's cutting out a little bit here. Vacation's great, but guys, but just know when the night man cometh and you got to record your podcast every week, sometimes a vacation can get in the way. Is that what you want?
Ooh,
Oh, Weezy's back.
am I back?
Yeah, you're back.
Okay. Had to switch to the hotspot real quick. Wi-Fi is a little shady up here, so
That's all right. You're just in the
hopefully that's
you're
better.
part of the local environment, man. You're not there for the
That's right.
podcast. You're there to enjoy some life.
Yes. All right. So we're clear on the fact that running in sand and water is trash in terms of like speed development. I think that's pretty clear there.
Mm-hmm.
Um, let's go with the agility ladder since you brought that up. I had that down towards the bottom of my list, but the agility ladder, or sometimes it's even worse. It's called a speed ladder. I do think that because dude, we used to do that. We had what we would call Q&A, quickness and agility. It was like every Tuesday, Thursday morning where I went to high school,
Mm-hmm.
and that was always a part of it. It was the agility ladder, some pattern, and then you do like a 5 yard burst. And at the time, I didn't know really jack shit about
Mm-hmm.
training. My whole knowledge base for that was bodybuilding.com and YouTube fitness. But yeah, it doesn't make you faster because you're not getting even close to. a top speed. You're barely moving. You're moving your feet more than anything else. And for some reason,
Mm-hmm.
people thought that, you know, the whole fast feet don't eat thing. And I think that got
Yeah.
caught fire, and it looks good. Yeah.
Whoever decided to go to a Home Depot and get a rope ladder, paint it yellow and black, and sell that shit to kids is a marketing genius. But an absolute idiot in terms of being a coach. When we think about speed, right? If I just think about it as a speed ladder, what is speed? Stride length, stride frequency, right? Now I'm going to break it down a little bit further. You need stride. Me taking a 6-inch step to put my foot in a hole while I'm staring down, and now I have little drummer boy hands like this. All I've done is mess up every little bit of gait. There's no stride length. There's no true stride frequency because the stride's not large enough. And now I'm hunched over to stare at the hole that I'm trying to put my foot in. And now I have no shoulder movement on my contralateral sling. It's not a speed ladder. All right, so we can move that all the way out of the way. You're not getting any way, shape, or form faster by doing that ladder. And then we go into it as an agility ladder. Raise that question again. What is agility? Agility is a a perception of the environment, and then you have to make a split decision inside your head to react to said environment and have your body make a visible change. There's no reaction to that. It's a pre-planned movement, right? By making it a pre-planned movement, it no longer becomes agility. So it's not an agility ladder. It's not a
It's not
speed
even
ladder. It's
change
not
of
an agility
direction
ladder
either. Could you even?
because you're not
I don't even
changing
think it's changing exactly. You're not changing direction.
the The only the only thing you could maybe see would be like if you're doing like the Ali shuffle through the ladder because you change from lateral to side, side to side. But at the same point, you're really not because the direction that you're actually heading is forward. You're just having bandwidth of movement in a 3 foot area to move progressing forward. There's no change of direction. There's no agility. There's no speed. It is the most trash thing that every school wants to buy for $60 to say that they do this, or every uncle who's a trainer wants to do this, or every guy that just says, "Hey, I like football. I'm going to become a trainer, and I'm going to buy a ladder, and we're going to do ladder drills in my backyard or at the beach, whatever it is." I hate ladders, ladder drills. It's so dumb. The only thing, that ladder is good for, in all honesty, is when you have the football players who want to get the extra work in, and they think that that is speed training, so they go and do that. And the only reason for that is because then they're not going ripping tens and 40-yard sprints and this and that and messing up your program. They're just doing something that does nothing, and they just got a little bit tired.
Yeah, they're not fucking up their
That's the
recovery.
only thing that ladder is good for. Exactly.
Yeah, the only thing I would add to that is I do think you mentioned it earlier. It can be a way to get in like extensive plyos for the ankle, although you can do that without a ladder and without having to look at the ground, which probably isn't a great thing for sports. There's not really many sports where you look at the ground unless it's golf and you're
Mm-hmm.
having like eye on the ball. Um, you could argue that it's good for that case with like a return to play too. But again, you can do all those types of extensive jumps without the ladder. Um, yeah, it's. I don't think there's much more else to say. I did have a coach. I mean, you remember this, and it wasn't a big deal. Like I had to use the agility ladder with one of my teams when I was at Elon as part of the warm up, and like you find a way to make it fun and make it competitive. But I was just in my head, I was just like, fuck, this isn't doing shit for us here. Besides, maybe you could make. Yeah, like
You
maybe
can
a
make the
little bit of
argument it raises the
proprioception.
temperature.
Yeah, it's a good. I think it's a good like. It can be fine for a good general warm up, and especially like if you're working with kids, maybe that helps them get a little bit of rhythm if they have to like do different patterns. So maybe there is a little
Mm-hmm.
bit of use for it, but I think past just a general warm up and getting like some some very lower level like proprioception and able to like, okay, I tell you to do this pattern and you do it. After you have it down, like you're right, there's not a lot of like
There's no more
perception
value.
action to that. Yeah, there's no perception action. You know, what are you going to do? Just keep going faster and faster and faster like that. We know that that doesn't really translate to speed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. What
Yeah,
else you got?
agility ladder, not good.
Trash.
Oh, let's go Bosu ball and like balance training in general. I'm
Trash.
thinking like, yeah, like trash. So I'm thinking like the Bosu ball, like stand on one leg, or like, there's a ton of that stuff, like balance on
Mm-hmm.
any sort of implement. And it's usually not with just like, it's usually like you're holding like a barbell or a kettlebell and doing like a single leg squat, stuff like that. To me, it just ruins the purpose. Like if you're doing like a strength based exercise, some sort of resistance movement, the less stability you have, the more it's going to take away from building actual strength. You know,
Mm-hmm.
if I have a back squat, that's a pretty stable movement. You're bilateral. If a half field squat, even more stable because you can use your hands. But if you pull in a Bosu ball, that's going to severely decrease the amount of load that you can use and therefore kind of take away from what you were trying to do in the beginning. Now, balance is an interesting topic because I think it's something that you can't deny that you don't need to be able to like control your center of mass and know where you are in space, especially in sport. But do you actually need to train that? I think that's something that kind of gets glossed over a lot of times. I think a lot of times it probably gets touched in sport. I don't know. What are your thoughts on training for balance, especially for sports like, I think of sports that need the most balance, gymnastics, but that gets trained doing the actual gymnastics practice. I don't know if we need to do any more of that, like Bosu ball or like the RX pad, like stability stuff is pretty classic for people that have like a history of like ankle sprains and stuff like that. But
That's, I mean, when you think about it, like in like the sport of gymnastics, you're sticking a hose and pouring water into the ocean. It's just overkill. It's not necessary. Um, and then I think about it in like court sports and field sports. Where does balance typically play the largest role? And that's when you look at it in either A, while you're in the air and having to land, or B, through contact. So when I think about it like that, like you're probably getting more value and it's probably a little bit more replicative through the laws of dynamic correspondence by adding context to it when, you know, we'll do these a couple of times where it's like, hey, you're going to take a max effort vertical jump. Someone you're going to have a partner who's just going to give you a little push while you're in the air. You got to stick the landing. That's more balanced and that's more replicative of probably what you're going to see in a game. And it's going to do more for you because you're having the contact in the air where you're going to be as unstable as possible because you have nothing contact in the ground, as well as having to land properly. So you have that, and then you can modify it and say, hey, I'm going to have you jump. You're going to get pushed. As soon as you hit the ground, you're taking off on a 5-10 yard sprint. You can really push the limits on that. It's going to be a little bit more replicative. You're going to get more value out of it, and it's not necessarily a stationary thing. What I think the shtick with a lot of Bosu and kind of balance and stability balls, bless you, are in being done in is again it's a private sector, private training type of deal where they're probably limited on space and they said, hey, this is a great way to do that for this and it looks really good, so kids will see that and they'll come buy it and they'll buy our program and they'll train with us and we're going to tell them how much it's working. Everyone knows the quote of like, they don't even know they're getting faster because they're not. We've all laughed at that joke and everything like that. It's just, uh, it's a lot of eyewash. I The risk isn't very very high because it's probably super low weight that they're doing. You still can roll an ankle, the same thing you can do on extensive plyometrics. But like, if we look at it from purely just risk to reward ratio, they're both so low that it's just not worth spending any time on. It's not. I would rather do anything else, even if the risk is a little bit higher, to get a larger reward. If I get an hour, I got to make use of my hour. If I get 2 hours, I got to make use of my 2 hours. You can't just throw in fluff because you don't know anything else better to do.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And when like a lot of that stuff gets done even in sport practice. Like when I played basketball, we would do this drill fairly often where, you probably know like coach has that big ass pad. You drive to the basket, you go up, they hammer the fuck out of you. You have to finish through the contact, and then you got to land after it. That's
That's
specific
actually
because that's what
better.
happens. That's what happens. You do get, you're gonna go through contact, or like you mentioned, those types of things. We did those at Simpson all the time. Vertical jump with a push, this and that, different variations of that. It's going to be a lot better than trying to. I just don't know. It's crazy how successful the Bosu ball has been, and I'm sure like speaking from ignorance here as a strength and like a performance coach and not as like a physical therapist or athletic trainer, I'm sure there's probably things that they would say that they're good for, maybe more in like early stage rehab, but I just don't see a lot of value in them, to be honest, especially when it comes to like real training.
Yeah, I just there's just nothing for me there, to be honest.
Yeah. What do we think about using the sporting implement in the weight room? I'm talking like if you've ever seen the videos of like Russell Wilson training and he's doing like a decline sit up with a football or like stuff like that.
Yeah, this is where it gets tricky. This is where it gets tricky. In a professional environment or like a honestly in like a private sector, I'm out on it. I don't think it adds much value in a collegiate environment. And I'm going to bring up a specific example that will make a little bit of sense. At Elon in the men's basketball and women's basketball and volleyball weight room, there's a handle on the cable machine that is a basketball with basically a rope extension on the cable. You know, in a sense, the implement that you hold on to doesn't matter. It could be a football, it could be a basketball, it could be just the rope, it could be the nunchuck grip, whatever. A coach comes in and sees it, and they're like, "Oh my god, they're doing sports specificity." It means nothing to the strength coach, but you're like, "Hey, they're gonna let me get the tricep pushdowns. They're gonna let me get my cable chops in, my cable lifts." And they're just holding on to an odd implement. At that point, it is kind of an odd implement, right? They're familiar with the football, they're familiar with the basketball, if it's volleyball, whatever it is, they're familiar with that. However, is it eyewash? In a sense, yes. Does it probably get buy-in, especially early, with that coach, with you being like, it's like a small gimme of like, it's a concession of like, I don't really care that they do this, but I know that they're going to get the actual tricep extension or the push down in or whatever it is. Right. But it looks really great for the coach, and the coach just, they get a kick out of it. It's fun. The guys don't mind it. The girls don't mind it. In that sense, I don't think it's necessarily trash. I don't think it's the best thing in the world, and I don't think anyone has to do that. But like I said, it's a fun thing that you can just kind of do. And as long as it's not like a pinnacle piece of the program, it's just kind of like a tossing on some accessory work, like go for it. If it probably makes the relationship with the sport coach better when they hop in the weight room and see that. The people, again, odd implement that they kind of have to hold on to, at least in that manner, like in basketball, if you're going for a steal or whatever, or you're in a little bit of a scrum for the ball, you kind of have to get like this like really controlled grip versus being like, hey, you're gonna hold double hand over the top and take this through a cable chop or whatever it is. So there is a sense of like just being weird with it to give them stuff that they don't necessarily do, even with that implement. I'm not gonna say it's gas, but I'm not gonna say it's trash. I'm gonna say it's like in that little like slight middle ground of like if you're just tossing it in every once in a while, probably not hurting anybody. I don't think it should be a emphasis of any kind.
Right. Can add a little bit of variability
Mm-hmm.
is what I'm getting from that. Can be good to add a little bit of variability. I think the other video like I saw like of Russell Wilson, he was doing like an ab rollout on a slide board with like the football and like a towel. It's like, okay,
Yeah.
it's still an ab rollout. It's not really hurting anybody. Yeah, it's a little bit like cringeworthy for some of us, but
Mm-hmm.
it's not really hurting anybody. Now, I remember that time that Andrew made that funny video where he had the quarterbacks with like the bands and shit. You know what I'm talking about?
Yep.
Obviously, like the people that had sense knew that was a joke, but like that's the stuff that like goes too far. Okay, let me resist the motion of throwing throwing a football,
Yeah.
stuff like that. Like they don't. Now there is a way to do that. Pitchers will throw different weighted like plyo balls. That's a little different because it's just changing the actual implement. You're not like resisting the arm. And then same thing with like batters. They'll use underweight and overweight bats to help alter bat speed and stuff like that. That's a little bit different. And strength coaches usually aren't doing that. You don't need to worry about that. That's the skill coach's job.
Yeah. I agree.
I think yeah, I think the same thing goes for like if you're doing a 5-10-5 with a football or a baseball glove, this and that. It's not really hurting because think about it, the the running motion is slightly altered if you're, wearing a baseball glove or if you're like carrying a football. But again, they're going to get that in practice. So it's probably better for you as a performance coach to just work on true sprint speed. Maybe you're obviously going to do some variable stuff, your crossover runs, curved running, stuff like that. But a lot of that will get taken care of with actual skill practice.
Mm-hmm.
Those were the main ones that I had written down. Are there any more gimmicky techniques that I'm just trying to banish from my mind?
I got one, and I think it's going to be a hot topic. RPR during your warm up.
Oof. That is a good one. That is a good one. Let me.
You want to go
So when
first?
yeah, I'll give my take. When I first got introduced to RPR, it's actually like during one of my first ever internships, Urbandale High School in the Des Moines area. Sick ass weight room. I think I've showed it to you before.
Yeah.
Um,
Legendary.
insane, insane. And they did RPR as part of the warm up. Like the coach kind of like explained it to me, and I was just like, oh, never heard of that shit before. But yeah, every day different, different warm up for different types of workouts. And then I go to the Sacramento State that following summer, and they were doing it too. So I think it was really catching on during that time. This was like around 2021, I want to say.
Mm-hmm.
And they would do it too, and they'd really get into it, and they would do the classic like pre-test, post-test. He can only get his straight leg raise as this. Does the RPR, the straight leg raise improves. I and this is actually something that I would do before I ran like a race. I would do like
Mm-hmm.
the hamstring one and the glute one, and I just felt
Mm-hmm.
like I don't know if it was placebo, but it made me feel more ready to race.
Mm-hmm.
I think it gets, and I know they have the courses. I haven't really looked super deep into the science of it. I know Cal Dietz is part of that whole thing. He's big on that. It's really easy to do it shittily because if you do it the correct way, it's actually like pretty uncomfortable. You have to really press in deep to feel a difference. And in a
Mm-hmm.
large group, you're going to get people that are just like basically rubbing their stomach and not really getting much out of it.
Not digging.
Yeah, you're not going to dig in there. I know Gabe is a fan of it for himself, but he kind of has that same, or at least he was when he was at Elon, but he kind of has that same opinion. Like, athletes aren't going to do that. They're going to think, like, what the fuck are we doing?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It could be placebo. I think I need to learn a little bit more about it just to see if I actually think it's like valid in terms of like the actual science behind it.
Mm-hmm.
but I think there's a little something to it, but it's tough to implement in a large group.
Yeah, I think this is the hard part. It's like there isn't a lot of research that supports it. There's also not a lot of research that doesn't. So it's like kind of out in its own little world there. I look at it like this. If you can teach it and get the intention from the athletes, it takes about 30, 45 seconds pre-session during your prep to go through the entire thing. You could even list it as like a little buy-in block to just hit it. I look at it that way. Is it placebo? Maybe. Maybe it does nothing, but if you have a kid that truly believes in it, you're probably going to get more out of them. With that being said, it's like for 30 seconds on a throwaway thing that could have really good implementation, I think it's worth it. But I don't think it's a blanket application where everyone needs to do it, because you're just going to have kids that, like you said, you do it shitty and it's a waste of time. Even if it is just 30 seconds, you want to maximize your time. If you have a team that's like that, you put it in for a week and they start to really like it and they feel like they're going to be better doing it, go ahead, and I think you should run with it. Any one of those things. Every kid loves to get on a foam roller and roll out for 5-10 minutes before a session. You could have that, or you could do 30 seconds of RPR. Foam rolling's been scientifically debunked, rebunked, and then back down again. Whereas like this hasn't had that yet. So it's like, at least for the time being, if you're going 30 seconds into the session, go ahead, rip it and see what you get. That, I think it could be a good thing. I do it on myself when I do it, but I went through a system in college where we did it. I had big races. I would get, one of my buddies he's my mentor. He was, fully certified through it and could do it. So I would go to him just personally and be like, "Hey man, need a session, 20 minutes." And I'm just getting like a full like knuckle just into like like behind the ear. And I'd get up off the table a little sore and I'm like, all right, I think I'm juiced. I'm ready. At the very least, when I finished, I was more confident. And if that's, I think there's something to be said about having an athlete who maybe believes in it and it says like, I'm more confident now. Now I wouldn't go through and t- touch every athlete, but if they're going to be able to go through and actually knuckle dive into into that little dimple on the lower back on themselves, and they're going to be able to hit the lower jaw one as hard as possible and be able to go, and they finish and they're like, "I'm PRing today," and they got that confidence. That's great. We want that. We want a confident athlete. That's half our job, is building a lot of confidence in someone's self to go out there and go do the thing. I think I'm
Yeah,
in on it
that
in
shit
that
matters.
sense. I'm out where you think it's a blanket application and everyone needs to do it, and even if it's done shittily, it's going to just solve every world's problems. I think it's a little bit of a pick and choose type of deal. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I got one for you. Another one. Sandbags and water bags. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I
For
think
anyone
it's like that
unfamiliar,
10 to
sandbags are
15%
honestly,
where
they're
you're going to kind
just
of experiment with your program, and the other
60
85,
to
90% is
150
like
pounds
shit
full
you
of
know it's
sand,
probably going to get the
just
job
heavy
done.
as shit, dead weight, literally dead weight. And then the water bags, they leave like a little bit open so the water swashes around over and over while you're moving around with it.
That is a good one. Well,
Mm-hmm.
I'm a big fan of the sandbags, honestly, for personal use, my training. I love them. And honestly, I think they can be really beneficial for athletes in the weight room. And I don't think I realized that until I went to Elon and we utilized them there. I think obviously if we want to maximize the load, we're gonna use like a barbell or a trap bar or something like that, where it's more advantageous, but sometimes it's good to just have to handle like an awkward type of load. Like that's why when you see like, you see people that like work out a lot and then you compare them to like a construction worker, and the construction worker just has that different type of strength because they're used to carrying those awkward, disadvantageous loads. It's kind of like that. I think having that variability, whether it's
Yeah.
like a sandbag carry, a clean, doing like a squat, stuff like that, I think it's not going to be like the basis of your program, but I think it's really good. And you can do a lot of really like fun, like competition type stuff with that too. You can kind of get that. It's like when the teams bring in like a army guy to give them through a workout, you can kind of microdose that, but still get something out of it without just burying people for a week. I'm a big fan of the sandbags. I'm a really big fan of the sandbags. I think they're underutilized. I wish we had them down here. Just dealing with that awkward type of load, whether it's for grip, you're going to get a lot of like the muscles of the torso activated too, or used. Water bags. I don't think I know enough about them to give a real opinion. I know in baseball, especially with like pitching and hitting on the skill side, they're really big. And I think it has a lot to do with like being able to control the center of mass, being able to decelerate, which especially for like a pitcher is super important. I'm like slowly learning a little bit more about like the skill side of baseball. There's a lot to unpack there. I would think since we're using them, hopefully we know what the fuck we're doing as the Chicago Cubs. Um, I'm gonna say for the weight room, probably not the best use of your time, just because. Okay,
Yeah.
what is it meant for? It's meant for more of like a skill side. The load isn't that much in some of those, in most of those, to be honest.
Yeah.
I think you're getting too far away from what your focus should be as the
I'll start with
performance coach.
sand, and you
I
make
don't
a
know how it
really,
is
really
for
good
like
point,
I'm
and
sure
this is
they
where
get
I'm kind
used
of
in
coming from
football
this
and
with
stuff
like
like
a
that. I
construction
know in
worker.
baseball they're really big.
In a weight room,
I
almost
think that's more
everything
of
is
the
built to be
the pitching or hitting
favorable
coaches their
to
job. To be
either
honest
hold
with
on
you,
to,
you can learn about it,
even if
and
it
the
is
more you
like a
can
more
learn about it, probably
difficult
the
weight or
better.
grip or
You'll be able
whatever.
to
It's
understand it and
built
actually get like an
favorably.
accurate
Um,
opinion on it.
how many dumbbells are
Yeah,
knurled extra, and their curvature on the handle is set to fit a grip, so you can always hold on to it a little bit better. No one's really asked to just do something in an unfavorable or, like you said, awkward kind of position. The sandbag then enters that realm and serves that purpose. You know, myself and Nick, like, he always makes fun of me because like I can just walk right into a handstand push up and hit like 15 strict, like it's nothing, just straight up cold. But like, I don't think that that's like a natural talent thing. That more so comes from like all through college, after college when I was working my first couple S&C jobs when there was breaks. I went and I worked for my dad in mechanical contracting, and there's times where you got to sit there and hold one arm above your head and hold like a 70-pound piece of piping that's long and unbalanced. You just got to sit there and hold it until it's done being glued or welded or whatever. So all that's like more of attrition. It just stacks up into like just pure overhead strength because I've had to do those weird things. Same thing with picking up a sandbag. The amount of times that they'd be like, "Hey, this has got to get over there." Dragging bags of concrete, you're dragging just weird pieces of piping. You're lifting up with somebody else just half of a what would be called like a scrubber, which is like just an extremely large piece of equipment that filters air. You got all that stuff, all that weird stuff where you're like, I don't have a good grip on this. I just got to sit there and make sure I hold it to the best of my abilities and not drop it. So that way I don't get yelled at and made fun of in front of everybody. So, like, that being said, like, most kids today don't do that. I got lucky in the sense of I had that. So when I walked into like something where you had to, it was a grip training challenge and you had to sit there and just hold onto a dumbbell for as long as possible. I always did favorably, from turning wrenches too, being in awkward positions. Hey, pick this up. honestly, when you get a sandbag, you're not going to hit it like a normal clean if you're doing like a sandbag clean. It's a lot different. You got to get underneath it. You got to like make sure that the low back actually sinks. You can kind of get away with like a lot of back in a regular clean, where like the sandbags, like you can try with your back and you're just going to fall over it because it's literally just dead weight. And as soon as you hold one piece of it, all the weight's going to fall around that and pull you back down. So that like by doing that, you're giving the athletes a little bit of an opportunity to just, in a sense, like have to be like better movers as humans. Um, and if they're better movers as humans, it's likelihood that you're probably raising the floor on their just movement literacy as athletes. So I think there is a good thing, and like you said, it doesn't need to be the mainstay basis of the program. But when you're tossing it in there towards the end of the workout or something, hitting a couple reps here and there, probably a good deal. The water bag, I'm kind of out on. The water bag, I see it a lot in basketball. Um, and like PJF has it and he uses it a lot. And I kind of look at it and I'm like, I'm just not seeing a lot of stimulus on it. I think what's the max a water bag holds? Like 35 pounds? Yeah. If anyone has any sort of strength, you're probably able to decelerate like 20 to 30 pounds. Like if that's like the max on it, like, and the other thing that I see a lot too is like, what are they mainly used for? And I see a lot of, honestly, like walking lunges, which you're not doing
Yeah,
anything,
and
and it's
they're
got two handles
people
that
will
you're just
fill them
pulling as
like to
tight as you can to your
certain,
back. So
like you
even though
can
you have
fill
a
them to
little
like, all
bit of
right,
wiggle,
10, 20,
it's
30
really
pounds.
not
I don't
that
know how they
balanced. You're
determine
not probably
that,
getting
but
as much as like that wiggle that you have. You're probably better off doing a tsunami bar, if you can just load it safely, or grab one dumbbell. In that sense, it's like there's so many other ways to do it without having to have this just thing
yeah,
that's
fuck
probably
that.
going to pop and make a mess somewhere. Um, I don't see a ton of value in them. I think they're a $200 to $300 kind of gimmick piece that gets thrown in because you have it and someone else doesn't have it. And I
Yep.
just
Or grab one
it's not
dumbbell,
doing it much
do
in
a
my
loaded,
opinion. So I
yeah.
just don't see it being really worth it, which is kind of crazy that I'm making that argument for the for the water bag. But on the flip side, I'm like, well, not everybody's got a sandbag. It's an awkward implement. I'm saying it's really good for that. I think the difference being is that like the water bag isn't just a bag of water. It's a very solid structure that just has the water sloshing around in it. Number one, and then number two, like you can load up a lot of sand in a sandbag, and if you've got like four of them, you could go from 60 pounds all the way up to 200. We have a 250 pound one. So if you want to get real weird with it, you can get real weird with it. You know, it's just the loading parameters aren't enough. It doesn't have enough variability in probably the movement of the implement itself. I just don't really see a ton of value. And I'm not on the skill side in baseball, so I can't tell you, that it wouldn't be worth it in that sense. But I think from an S&C side, there's just not enough juice to get out of it. And you can spend your money on different ways that are much more palatable and a lot more like replicative of actual training. I got one more. Maybe two. I'll probably group these two together. What do you think of like the little ball and then the like the little tri stick? You see like Alvin Kamara, he's standing on a Bosu and they're throwing the little like
Yeah, it's
tri
a no
stick
for
boomerang
me
thing, and
in
they're like,
terms of
grab the yellow
training.
piece,
In
grab
the
the
way,
red
it's a
piece,
no
grab the
for
green
me.
one.
Sandbags, yes.
Like,
Water bags, no.
or like sitting there and throwing, and like throwing like a ball at them, just standing there. Mm-hmm.
My first reaction is it's kind of bullshit
Yeah.
eyewash. It's clear that like in the sport of football and in a lot of sports, you need to be able to like to catch a ball. That's perception action,
You
and
just don't
that's
have the
like
development.
knowing where you are in space and tracking with the eyes. That's clearly important.
Hmm.
I don't know how trainable like the vision system is, if I'm being quite honest. I don't. I to me, I would guess that that has a little bit lower trainability. Like if you just can't track super quick, and we do like vision testing on guys. Yeah, like I just don't know how trainable that system is. To be honest with you, like there's probably I bet there's probably something to the fact that like people that are better at hitting 95-mile-an-hour like fastballs probably have a little bit better tracking than people that just can't hit shit. Like in terms of baseball, I don't have anything to prove that, but I would probably guess that there's something to it. We've already kind of debunked Bois debunked the Bosu ball stuff. So, but let's just say like we're on the ground and trying to, basically
Yeah.
catch different objects in different ways. Is it that much different from like
Hit the juice
juggling?
machine, man.
Yes, it's a skill. Trying to catch it, whether it's in a different spot or catch the blue
I
side, catch
look
it from the
I
yellow
look at it
side.
in this sense.
I just don't
When
really
you're just
see
so
it a whole
locked in and
lot
so
because if
structured,
you're
it
catching
becomes
a
problematic.
football,
There's no movement bandwidth, there's no
you're
variability.
just
Honestly I
I don't
do
know how that
like I
translates to
think
like
you
catching a
actually had a post
football.
on
I
this
just
a
can't. I'm
while
probably
back, like
missing
for your
something.
warm
I'm
up,
probably
like
missing something. There's
by
probably something
yourself,
they
like
know that I
just
don't.
throw a
But
ball
to
on the
me,
wall and catch the ball and
yeah,
play a
like
little wall
just do
ball.
the fucking thing.
I
Just
like
do the
that.
fucking thing.
I do. I honestly I like that. It's a little
I
more
just
engaging than
just
actually
don't
having
get
to
it.
like sit there and do a hamstring floss and then a sideways lunge. You're probably hitting some of those positions. It's a little more intriguing to the person doing it, and it can be fun. I'm a big fan of that. Um, what I don't like is they'll just is like it's two guys facing each other, and he's like throwing it a
Playing.
little bit higher, so he's got to reach above his head or here. Like you're so locked in, you just can't even focus. You know what I mean? It's one of those things where it's like you're only moving within this. You're not moving the lower body. You're not like getting into weird positions like having to like reach a little bit or like pushing the boundaries to where it's like you're probably not training that vision as much as you think you are or the hand-eye coordination. Like if you just throw the ball at the wall and by simplifying the the spectrum of like the game or whatever you're doing, the drill, you're probably providing more movement. And with
Exactly.
that, you're probably getting more out of it. Not a big fan of like the little sticks that they throw. You know what I'm talking about, right? It's like a triangle. It looks like the inside of a Mercedes symbol, where they throw it at you and like grab the red one, grab the red one. But it's like your feet are glued to the ground. Like you're just not getting that much out of it. Just go play some wall ball, man. Play some tetherball. Go be a kid. Like there's something to be said about that. Like you can really get some stuff out of that. Um, and if it's in that sense, I'm in on it. If it's in like the sense that everybody does, plus I think those
Yes.
sticks are kind of corny. Like who wants to play with a kid's toy like that? You know, um, that's like the pinnacle piece of your program, and you're like, see, we do a lot of this stuff. It's like, so you 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 play with toddlers, like I don't know. It's such a weird one because it's like if it's done well, it can be both fun, engaging, and get them kind of warm. When it's like this is what we're doing today, you're like, all right, like anything else. There's some other things. There's some squats in there. We pressing a little bit, or am I just paying you $150 so I can come play catch?
That's the separator.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think You bring up a good point. If you want a general warm up, does it really matter
Mhm.
what you do? No. I think probably the more engaging and fun, the better. That's kind of one thing that I've picked up from working with the Cubs is trying to incorporate more games into warm ups. It's more fun. It'll definitely get you warm. It's a little more stimulating. It's probably going to help buy in a little bit more, and you're going to touch things that you don't normally, that you're just not going to get with your standard like dynamic warm up. There's a place for both. Um, but yeah, I think like stuff like that can be good, especially just like movement variability, and then okay, whatever you didn't get from that, then you do something more structured. Like obviously, you're not going to do wall ball and then be ready for a fly 10. I think to me, I was doing that like I'm doing that like on my upper body days or stuff like that, and then whatever else I didn't get, I'll do that separate. Um, but when it comes to that gimmicky type of shit, like that triangle, I'm kind of out on. And I don't, like I said,
I
I need
agree.
to look into more of how trainable like the visual system is. We kind of experimented with they're called saccades. That's just like visual tracking. So like think about like having to track like an object in front. I think that probably plays into a little bit more into vision than anything else. But again, I think that's like a very small portion of your program. Yeah. Yeah. You mentioned something like being a kid, like making training fun and just making it more of like play. I think that's something that's starting to become a lot more relevant. If you're looking for good stuff on that, there's a guy, his name's Jeremy Frisch. He has like a facility where he kind of focuses on like training kids, like 6 to 12 years old is kind of his like main like shtick. And he's not doing like anything that really looks like resistance training. It's mostly just it looks like play. It's more like structured play, and his stuff is awesome. And I think that can really be
This is the guy
incorporated
that does the
more, even if
obstacle
it's not
courses,
with
right?
kids, with like college athletes that just don't get that.
Dude, I'm gonna
They're
tell you
so like
right now.
structured, you
I'm telling
know.
you right now.
Football
If my
especially,
kid's
like
like
practice
a
structured. The warm
youth
ups
youth
always has
athlete,
to
like
be
that's 6 to
perfect. The weight room
12,
super
and I
structured.
live around
Throwing
there,
some of that in, especially probably in the
I'm
early off
probably
season,
going
I think it can be
to.
good for a
I'm
psychological
gonna send my
reset
kid to him
and just kind
because
of
it looks
reopening
like a
up
sick environment.
that
Like
movement
he's
variability
got them
before you
like
kind of get into
they're
that
doing
more
hurdle
specific
hops over
stuff.
to a box and then having to hit like a little tumble. Like there's tumbling, there's crawling, there's
Yeah, it
actual
looks fun
jumps.
as
Like the
hell,
kids
doesn't
are
it?
obviously having fun too. He's got him on the rig and they're like he's basically what looks to be like programmed like, hey, climb around this, and it's like little shocks on the shoulders. They're playing small sided games. And then even in there, you see him like he's got a kid hitting some barbell cleans with training bars. He's got some snatches. He's got, obviously they're doing some squats. He's got them pressing, pull ups, push ups. They're carrying. They're doing all the basic stuff. Even if that's only half the program, but like like you can see some of these kids like really they're kind of like falling in love with some of the training, and there is some honestly what there's not a lot of eyewash in this. He's got him doing some sick stuff. This is sick. Jeremy, you just earned a follow.
Yeah, and I think that's the biggest thing
Mm-hmm.
is the biggest thing is like
I mean, this guy's going on Polish
getting
boxes
kids from a
too,
young
getting some
age and
cool plan. I
having
mean,
them have a
this. I
good
mean, I just saw a
relationship with
kid hit a
training,
33
because
inch
that's
hurdle,
I think a
like
lot of times what
run
do
a
you hear
approach
when
over.
guys don't want to
It's not
train?
like it's
They had a
just
bad
hey, here's a
experience
bunch of
early
games
on
and
where they
like
fucking
this
hurt
or
their
that.
back
Like
because
he got this kid
or they had
single
a
leg
coach
bounding
early
over
on that was
boxes.
super
Like it
like
looks crisp.
disciplinarian.
Like
It's
this is
probably
one of his
better
like
to
longer
just
LTEC
make it
kids.
fun early on, build that good relationship, and then slowly kind of work into the more structured stuff. And that's just going to
This is
make it easier later
sick.
on.
Yeah, if I got a kid, where is he at like location wise? I we need to give this guy a shout out. Let me see if I can find it. Um, I don't know where he's at, like location wise. But if he's in
Yeah,
my
it's like
town and I got a youth
it's like
athlete, this
yeah, like
dude
it's I would describe it as
he's
like
getting
structured
my
play
kid and my money.
almost.
Like this is sick. That's like structured play, like really pushing the limits. They're having fun, but like you can just see
I'm
like
not
the
sure.
intent on all the kids. They're not just like going through the motions. They're sprinting. They are definitely sprinting. They're definitely jumping, and they're learning all the other movement capacities and like you kind of talk about like functional patterns. Their squat, their hinge, their push, their pull, their carry. They're doing all that stuff. These kids are probably gonna like. He's making some high school coach that doesn't even know him. That he doesn't even know he even exists. He's making him so happy, and then vice versa, the college coach, like he's gonna make that college coach super happy because this kid's probably gonna come into a college program if they're good enough in the sport and just be a really good mover. Maybe he's got to make him a little bit stronger, get him a little bit faster, but it's like instead of having to spend so much time over and over again on just like, hey, you have to learn how to be an athlete. He's like, well, now I just get to work on the fun stuff. That's LTAT, man. Jeremy, that's great. Great stuff, man. Cheers to you. Ghost. It's not often we give a lot of people like some positive shout outs. Normally we dog on people. So like we gotta we gotta balance that out. When someone does really cool shit, we gotta be like, hey man, that's sick. We should see if we can get him on the pod. Little cold DM. I might do that. I might hit him with it. I'm gonna hit him with it. Should we wrap this thing up? You got a waterfall to see. Rehabbing a little bit of my knee after falling.
Yeah, to take a break from the haterade.
But
We should.
gotta go.
We'll cold
Gotta move
DM.
some more stuff. That's the cost of living life. Hey, if I didn't do as much like training and like jumping and plyos that
Hell
I
yeah.
do, that probably could have been catastrophic. But the worst I got
Let's wrap
is
this bad boy up.
the worst I got is I'm a little swollen.
Yeah, I do. Let me hike on a waterfall. What are you doing today?
Banging my fucking knee on the side of that truck. I know, and I was holding the headboard, so
It's
like
okay.
that.
It's the cost of living life.
Train yourself. I wouldn't have survived.
Yeah, you probably would have wrecked your
But yeah,
little soreness.
want me to go first? Get my dumb one out of the way.
Yeah. Could have been knee Armageddon if you weren't training.
In my Ghost mug, shout out Ghost when they did their hot cocoa and then they released these mugs. They were sick. Wandering Bear Cold Brew S'mores flavor.
Honestly,
As far as
you have to
Wandering Bear
train.
flavors go,
Don't care
as
who
far
you
as
are.
Cold brew goes, I'm going to give this a 9.1. This is an absolute daily driver. It's why I keep ordering the box over and over again. It's delicious. It's nutritious. It saves my life and it gets me up in the morning enough to train people.
Yeah, these are. I feel like this is going to be a little underwhelming for both of us.
Absolutely
but
love this.
Go ahead.
Big fan. 9.1 Wandering Bear S'mores Cold Brew. The very first Bev Boys ever review was the White Monster. When the lights went out in the middle
As
of the
always,
episode, all we
the
had
white
were
monster.
lapel mics
It
and
never
like,
fails. I just still haven't gotten tired of it. I think I got to go like a 9.0, 9.0 to a
didn't even know
9.2
what
on
we
this
were
bad
doing.
boy. It's tough to beat, especially for the price, and especially down here. It's damn near a perfect 10. Yeah, can never go wrong with the white monster. Can never go wrong. Yes, when the lights went out in the middle of the episode. Yep. And that episode was like what? Like that was like 10 or 15 minutes long. That was like short as hell. we still don't know what we're doing sometimes, I don't think. But talking to the guy who doesn't have fucking internet, doing a podcast. But yeah, I digress. As always, guys, huge thanks for tuning in. Make sure to check us out. YouTube, Bois, watch full episodes. You can also watch the video on Spotify, or if you just want to tune in to listen in your car, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcast. If you did enjoy the show, make sure to share it to a friend. Leave us a positive review on the Apple Podcasts. That would really help with the algorithms, as well as liking the videos on YouTube. Comment down below anything you want to see us review or topics you want us to cover. Could be related to fitness, energy drinks, random conspiracy theories, shit like that.
Shtick, man.
We'll cover most
It's
anything
training
here.
content. It's Bad Boys clips. It's
Follow
good
us
fun
on other
all
social
around.
medias,
Clean
bevboys.tv on Instagram for clips of past, present, future episodes. Those are collabed with our personal accounts on Instagram, so can be found at French_fit40 with those Bev Boys posts. Training stuff is there as well. Brian can be found at
Peace.
That's right. Memes. But yeah, as always, thanks y'all for watching. Go buy a shirt or a hat, bevboys.com for our merch. We got t-shirts, we got hoodies. We just released hats on the website. Make sure to support the pod. And yeah, we will see you guys next time. Peace.